we had tech issues, which is kind of classic for Broken Bane. So we got those resolved, yay, yes. And it was a group effort, yay, group. And we are going to get started now. So I asked my players if they had dice, their character sheets, a liquid of their choosing, and if they had something to write stuff down on, which can be like digital or real paper, whatever you want. And they all said yes, and it was great. And now we're here. I have all of my players. What I have planned for today is we're going to review some safety tools. And the reason we're going to do that, if you're new to this stream, just a reminder that this is kind of a, hey, I don't know how to play D&D. How do? You can come here and watch our streams because we talk about it a lot. I'm disabled and I talk about it way too much. If you're like autistic people can GM it, yeah, I'm doing it right now. So we took a break for 6 months and we're going to check in on the safety tools because I like to check in on the safety tools once or twice a year. Anytime there's a big gap, I like to check in on them again as well because you can misremember stuff. Like, for example, I was completely convinced I had a written down yes/no list for this group, and I don't. So we're gonna put that together and we'll review that next week. All right, so the safety tools that we're going to chat about today is, we're not going to use X cards or red, yellow, green cards because this is meant to be an accessible stream, and those are visual indicators that can't be shared with people who are low vision or blind. So instead of that, what we'll do is we are trying to be comfortable enough as a group to be like, hey, I don't like what's happening right now. Can we pause and talk offline? Or like, hey, can I take a break? Or anything like that. That doesn't always mean that, like someone saying, can we take a break doesn't always mean that we're going over something like that. Sometimes we just need a break. You can also do that written. So we have a Discord channel set up. It's just us in here. And so they can message me directly and be like, I hate what's happening right now. Or your cat looks cute or whatever. Questions or concerns about that, folks? Okay. I try to discuss potentially difficult or upsetting storylines with people ahead of time. And actually, if we do get our adventure started today, I did reach out to somebody in the group to see if it was okay if I used a piece of, of their stuff in order to make sure that people were going to be comfortable with this. So the yes/no list that I was talking about earlier is I totally want this stuff in my game and I want this stuff to never be in my game or anywhere near it. And so while that is a very good list, so for example, someone in this group really doesn't like spiders, right? So we won't put spiders in the game. And so that's a very good list, but there's always going to be stuff that comes up that might not be on that list that it might be good to check in with your players on. Questions or concerns? Cool. I think that's everything I've got listed. Is there anything that y'all can remember or would like to add to our safety tools? Cool. For those of you out there that are like, what are safety tools? Basically, if you are not a straight white male, it can be difficult in a gaming space. And so a lot of our community has set up these kinds of check-ins so that we can make sure we're all on the same page. And if you're thinking, that's stupid, just play the game. If you want to run your game that way, that's fine. I will not be playing with you. But for those of you that are like, hey, this is neat, Jennifer Kretschmer has a really good resource on safety tools. She's on Twitter. I highly recommend taking a look at that. You can always reach out to me on Twitter as well. I'm like 7spoon and I'm happy to chat about it or point you to resources. Anyone want to add anything about safety tools? Cool. So I actually can see my players' screens. We are not streaming cameras on purpose. We made that choice and I support it entirely. But we feel safe enough with each other. So I can see them shaking their heads. And that's why I've been saying, okay, good. We're good now. All right. I think we've reached the bit where we talk about what we've done so far. So we played for about a year, I think, together before we took our latest break. And so without looking at any notes of any kind, I tried to write down what they've done. So we started out with Winnie, Battle, and Yume, and another player whose character's name was Freya. They ran through a Take This module that I have forgotten the name of, but had brain stuff in it. Actually, Sarah, you probably remember the name, right?
Gardens of Fog.
There you go. So we played through Gardens of Fog first. Once we got out of that, we jumped into. I think we went to the train after that. And that was really interesting for me because I thought I had like set up a single way to get on the train, and my players proved me wrong. There were bees and theft and mimics and puzzles is what I remember from that. Yeah. Then we went to the town of. Hang on. Warnier. That's a weird name. Which is famous for its like textiles and fabrics and stuff. And this is where Freya sort of disappeared and left a note in somebody's pocket, being like, "I'll be right back, but time is weird here." And we met Aaliyah. Long story short, you were in this town and you were approached by, I forget who, about going into the caverns of Warnier to retrieve like a tool to fix their textile machines, which were breaking down, and like there was magic of some kind, and peaches, and like the mayor's.
Those suspicious peaches.
Yeah, and like the mayor's kid disappeared and stuff like that. And then.
Very suspicious when we got to this town.
Right. So do you all remember why you got suspicious? What do you remember about that?
I think it started even. It was primarily because of all the twins. But I think it started even before then.
Yeah.
I think part of it too was Battle was so suspicious already from the ending of the train situation that when we got to this town, I don't know, I don't remember if she carried that paranoia in, but she was already was she? Gosh, now my memory. I feel like my instinct says she was getting a little weird at the end of the train, but
Yeah.
then we got into that town and the twins, and then it was like everybody just seemed too happy to
Right.
promoting of their own, like, yes, this is the town, this is where we do it, that I feel like Battle interpreted it as cultish and got a little
Okay. I remember that as well. I forgot that the train wasn't just like go ride on a train, but you were rescuing a piece of I can't
One of my
remember.
friends.
Yeah, you were rescuing one of Yume's friends.
Shiny bee friend.
And getting through that train was really interesting because we kept rolling sevens and we were using the deck of confusion or whatever the crap that thing's called, deck of wonder, to make random things happen. And it got a little heavy-handed, and I believe that was the game where we were like, you know what? From now on, when we roll a 7, if we pull a card, we will decide as a group whether we want to pull the card. And if one person rolls more than once, they don't get another one, kind of thing. Because
it added for some really interesting things, but
it did.
We know we want to reel it back a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I think that was after the episode where we ended up having nudity and talking axes and.
Oh, you're right.
romance.
That was down in the caverns.
Yeah. Yep.
It was getting pretty heavy in the train too, I think. When you so you got to the town, you were really sus, and you were basically hired, and I do not recall at all what you were promised when you were hired. You went into the caverns and you started. Do you remember anything about the caverns?
There were children singing outside of it.
Oh,
It went
right.
forever.
Mm-hmm. A never-ending
There were
tunnel.
puzzles on the outside of it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you remember?
There were little robots,
Yep.
and I collected them.
Yes, you have a
because
bucket.
Beastmaster.
Yep.
I think we still have one, don't we?
Well, are you talking about the ones that kind of fought you for a while, but you
We
bucket?
technically still have bucket, depending on what we're picking up.
Yeah. And are you also referring to the tiny robots you found at the very end that you ended up taking back to the town and seemed to like the tools?
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that were just all around causing interference down the tunnel.
Right.
There were like marches going back and forth that would attack us.
Right.
The path.
Yeah, so in my head, those are slightly bigger than the little guys you picked up at the very end. Do you remember seeing the loom beasts in that last really big room?
How could we forget?
I suspect that wasn't part of the original story plot that ended up happening because we were all so excited about the idea. Yeah.
When we are all old and gray and sitting on my massive porch and rocking chairs, I will reveal which bits of this were planned and not planned.
Yay.
Or if you catch me on a stream where I'm talking about GMing, I may bring it up there accidentally. All right, and you made it out. You have the tools. And you made it back to the town of Warnier, and you're sort of being celebrated because the mayor's son got back, and that's kind of where we left off last time. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Any other details you'd like to recall?
I feel like we all the little robots and Bucket is the only one left with us, if I remember correctly, and we were going back to the inn to have a meal.
Mm-hmm. That sounds right.
And Ali is very much still bonding with the group, but has definitely sort of, they've seen sides of her she might not have chosen to share in this adventure.
Right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When did the birthday stream happen? The pop out to the mistress's castle? In the timeline.
Oh Lord, I forgot about that.
We're still in the caverns, yes?
Yep, it was in the middle of going
Yeah,
down the long
yeah.
cavern.
You were in the caverns, and I think it was after the really uncomfortable room.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was right after the really uncomfortable room.
It's a great tempo change.
Well,
Okay.
The really uncomfortable room is an interesting way to frame it because it seemed like 3 out of 4 of them were very comfortable.
Fair.
Oh, yep, that's true.
Unless it was uncomfortable for other players.
Mm-mm.
I remember it being a little difficult to play through because we were like, okay, so everyone's naked. And
Yeah,
now
it was new
this
territory.
axe is romancing people, and that's a little weird. And like, it just was, and those are kind of the things that I really wanted. Like when the session ended, I was like, if I had planned on that, I would have asked people ahead of time, so maybe I shouldn't have picked those cards, kind of thing.
But hey, that was authentic, and we kind of talked about it in the moment during that
Yep.
session, during that episode.
Yeah.
And it's just another example of how to communicate with your table
Yep.
about things.
Yeah, and if
I
any,
also think
you go ahead.
the trust level in this group was such that, like, none of us were just going to be like, hey, I'm going to make unwanted advances at X person.
Right.
We all took it with a lot of tact and pacing and pause to make sure everybody was okay.
Well, and I think you
If
played.
anyone's confused, because it's been a long time, wild magic made everyone's clothes disappear for a minute.
Yes, and then more wild magic made Winnie's axe become sentient and super flirty.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Those
Not
are-
overly so, though. It wasn't
No.
overly.
but you all played your characters really. You played your characters' reactions really well too, which I think was really interesting to watch. And I also about the trust thing. I think we've built enough trust that if any of you were like, no, I don't like this, let's not do this part, we'd adapt, we'd change that. I am checking the chat. Cool. All right. I think that's good. I was wondering if y'all would like to introduce your characters again, and then we went through that a lot faster than I thought, so we can actually drop into an adventure after that if you would like. So
Yay.
okay, so
Yay.
to avoid the who's gonna go next, I'm just gonna pick you. I'll pick the first one, and then you pick the person who's gonna follow you. Does that sound okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Battle. Describe yourself.
You got it. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Sarah Hayes. I play Battle Amore. She is a wood elf ranger. We are currently sitting at level 4, unless I'm missing something. She's a beastmaster. What we've learned about her so far is that she comes from a village. That she was the do the other players know her occupation in her former?
Nope.
Players do, that's more like characters do.
I don't think the
Okay.
characters do.
Okay, so I will say this as Sarah, that she was a mortician in her town, but she became an adventurer and met this lovely crew while just kind of taking a break from being around there, because I mean, now I can make movie references, right? So Encanto is a great example of the kind of pressure she was under to fit in the family and the culture, and she
Yep.
just wasn't quite sure if that's something she could fit, and she always, found animals easier to get along with. So she has found a merry crew of heroes to tie with and help make the world better. So that is Battle. She's charismatic, but also tries to, be thoughtful. That's something for me as a player with ADHD I find challenging. So that is something you'll see a lot from Battle, is that I'm going to be continually practicing that.
Sounds like fun. Pick the next
Apologies for the extended introduction. Popcorn Aaliyah.
person.
Okay. I'm Virginia Spillman. I play Aaliyah. Aaliyah presents as a wood elf. Has joined the party recently. Is very guarded and can't quite believe that this group is actually altruistic and not after any, doesn't have any hidden agenda, but is definitely learning to trust them faster than she expected, and has been much more vulnerable than she expected, not always by choice, and very secretive about my history. Walk around with a hood, usually up, and do things like eat ice cream as if it's the most amazing thing.
I remember
And
that. That
I've
was
never
fun.
seen it before.
Yeah.
And what is this? And like watch people dancing with like glassy eyes as if it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and I've never experienced freedom like it. I am I'm a monk with some pretty cool skills, but again, like sort of don't always take the lead in using them. That's me, and I choose. I'm forgetting the character name. 10 seconds.
You've got Winnie
I
and
choose
Yume.
Yume.
There you go.
Yume. Okay. Well, hi, my name is Reina. I play Yume Yuthalia, who is a young adult human. She is a celestial warlock. She has a best friend bee companion because she has like bee-related powers that we're gonna explore more as the game goes on.
Yes.
She's from a kind of like small town, like temple to a sun goddess of some sort. She was pretty sheltered, just like helped serve the small community and help out with the church, cleaning things and learning, spending a lot of time on her own. So once she was allowed to, basically, when she felt like she had the freedom, she wanted to explore and get out of that very restrictive, loving, enriching but restrictive space. So she went with her friend, her bee friend that she found in the forest, and went looking for a little bit more actual friends and ways to help people while finding a little bit more of who she is.
Nice. All right, and that brings us to Winnie.
Perfect. Winnie is a very big furbolg with light blue skin and kind of like brown and gray twisted hair, and has a scar across her face. I don't think that the players know too much about her background or where she came from, other than she's very strong and very protective of people and wields a great axe. And for some reason, I know everybody's seen her like have, at least at the last couple sessions, focusing on a blue rose necklace that she wears underneath her leather armor. She's, I think, maybe from the player's perspective, a little. She has guards up in more ways than one, and isn't the easiest to get close to. So, and also will destroy a mimic if it bites her in the butt. So,
Yes, I do
yeah.
remember that. Yeah, Battle super wanted to adopt it. Speaking of Battle adopting everything in the world, will you actually introduce your companions, real quick?
Sure. So, apologies. There was a lot to think around, and ADHD is strong in the evenings. But in my defense, Freya also wanted the mimic, so the mimic I feel like shouldn't count
Yes.
on the animal hoarding list.
Oh,
But
I see. I see.
in Gardens of Fog, the woman that we saved was the daughter of a pair of people who raised service dog, very much like other service dogs we know, and was a very deliberate choice to showcase what a service dog might be like. And so I have Shy, which is shield and armor. My dog companion. She's probably, I don't even know how much time has passed. She was a puppy when we got her.
Oh, I worked this out. It's only been,
Apologies.
I think it's only been like a week in real time. Because you did Gardens of the Fog in somebody's head, and then you went to another town that didn't take long. You were on the train for less than a day, and then you went to the Caverns of Vornir, and Lord only knows how long you've been in there.
The train was a day?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was like 6 sessions, but it was a day in real time.
Okay, so Shy is like a 4 or 5 month old puppy.
Yeah.
She is incredibly smart considering. I
Yep.
blame entirely the amazing troop that we've got. And she's already showing her promise of being a service dog because of her intelligence and willingness to sit at my side even when there are very exciting things. Nay, she put on a fun show at a... What was that, a tea party? What kind of party was that? I don't even know.
Oh, it was
But
a masquerade
she's got lots
ball.
of skills. Yes, a masquerade ball for like
She
4-month-old. She knows a lot.
So real quick, for my birthday, I pulled every player who wanted to play from all of my campaigns into one space. That was a masquerade ball, and they needed to solve some sort of puzzle. And many shenanigans happened, including Shy, Battle's dog, playing with Quentin from Treasure Tuesday's game's dog, who's a blink dog, and so that got weird fast.
Yes. So I have Shy. I also, because of a lucky nat 7 I received Ren, a turtle fondly named after the mystery person who plays the mistress. She's a, what's it called? Indestructible tiny tortoise. She now sits in a baby carrier leather version of that on Shy's chest, and is smiling and excited about everything. And then, of course, that happened in the middle of the train, and then it's one per adventure, okay? And then I got Bucket because we were trying to figure out what was going on with the robots in the caverns. And so when we adventured there were all these little robots, and I always got the little jig stuck in my head of like big one, small one, some as big as your head, and Bucket's one of the bigger ones, but not the biggest one. So it's a little like, we've slowly discovered that Bucket is a little sentient bucket on wheels, and Bucket has now decided that I am its mother, and we're just going to keep going.
When so for the tortoise, just for visual, tortoises are the clomp clomp, turtles are the flip flip. Just for anyone who gets that reference, know that you're my favorite. And then with the adventure I'm preparing, I literally was like, oh no, there's just what is she gonna take now? Oh my god.
Hopefully nothing.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I can't see a way out of it. Anyway, but I like it. I think it's fun. Okay, and then so my name is Shona Spain. I go by like 7 Spoon online or Spoon. I've been playing games for about 10 years. I've been GMing for 4 or 5, I think, at this point. I am autistic. I have ADHD. I'm also an ambulatory wheelchair user. So I whip all that stuff out regularly. I've recently gone through autistic burnout, which means I have lost the ability to socially mask. That's what it means for me. So these streams might be a little weirder than you might be used to, but we're gonna try it and see if it works. And with that, I think we'll get started. If everybody's interested in me setting a scene and moving on. All right. Anything else you want to add before we set that scene? Oh, I forgot to mention. So I'm a storytelling GM. I tend to focus less on combat and more on a collaborative storytelling. I also am not the kind of GM that tries to kill all her players. I actually think that's not fun. And I try to play with people that aren't like adversarial to the GM as well. I want to be clear. If you're playing one of those games and you are enjoying yourself and nobody's getting hurt, good. Have fun. But that's the style that I tend to run. So I'll build frameworks for stories, and I will ask, like, the story can't move forward without the player's input. So it helps shape it and helps them be a little more involved in it. Okay, now I'll set the scene. So you are in the town of Warnier. You are being treated as heroes. You've returned with the mayor's son and friends. I'm gonna say that you're in the inn and being feasted or whatever they do with heroes. You've brought back these bulb bots, and basically as soon as you got into town, they abandoned you and ran off to the warehouses. And somebody will have run into the inn to be like, they're fixing them, which is very exciting. And then as the evening goes on, so you're in. I want you to think about like wood beams, like really solid wood tables. The floor is pretty clean, but has like sand on it, because that'll absorb liquids. And there's kind of the musty, yeasty smell of beer or cider. So you can assume they make their own whatever. And there's really delicious smells coming out of the kitchen. And it's really crowded in here because everybody is sort of piled in to shake hands with the heroes and just thank you so much, because the word has spread so like lightning so fast that you've come back and you were successful, and the whole town seems to have known that you were off trying to retrieve a tool. And people coming back from the caverns are so rare, and when they do, they're very strange, and they end up leaving very quickly. Just everyone is so excited. And is it okay if I ask, how would your characters be reacting to this, do you think? So I'll just use the same order as before. Battle, how do you think Battle would be reacting to this?
So I think there's a fair sense of relief. For those catching up to the story, Battle was really paranoid, really nervous, sort of getting reckless inside of the tunnels and the caverns because she was anxious that there was something bad or devious afoot. And so I'm guessing that Battle's feeling immense relief to be outside, thankful to allow Shy to be able to go to the bathroom somewhere other than a tunnel. And probably still a little like, she probably cautiously trusts people now because they're reacting in a way that makes sense to being innocent in their requests and like needs, but she still doesn't quite understand. I think the way I connected dots in my head.
Would reserved be a good word? Like people are trying to greet you very enthusiastically, and you're not quite returning that same enthusiasm. But you're not completely closed off and like, no, I don't trust you people. It's kind of
right. I'm thinking like Witcher vibes, like not grumpy, but definitely like okay, let's go on.
Got it. What do you think Aaliyah's doing?
Observing, like pulled my hood up, sitting at the back. I've had 3 bowls of ice cream, and I'm realizing I probably shouldn't eat anymore, and so I'm just kind of playing with my spoon and watching the room with my hood up, and I keep like checking on Yume and Winnie and Battle, just because they're my anchors in that space, but I'm not really engaged and involved.
Got it. Okay, so you might be sort of tucked back in the corner of a booth, trying not to attract notice. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not brooding or anything, but I'm a detached observer.
Right.
I'm very curious, and whenever there's like, little dance breaks out over here, and like there's an arm wrestle over there, and I watch, and I'm curious. And
would it be safe to say No, actually, I think you captured that really well. So I think I'm not going to ask you to roll for anything, but I think what ends up happening is the crowd sort of is either respecting that, or you're doing a really good job of like not pulling a lot of attention to yourself while you're observing others, and you're not like going too far down the hole where you look suspiciously trying to hide yourself or anything. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, I'm certainly. I think I'm the least charismatic of the party, so I'm probably the least interesting. It's not hard for me to appear uninteresting,
Got it.
especially
Okay.
when my head's up.
Okay. Yume, you're up. What do you think Yume would be doing?
First, Aaliyah discovering ice cream is probably my favorite tiny thing from the last arc.
Yes.
It's just so wholesome. Yume would be trying to match the energy level of everyone's like excitement in the town, trying to like stoke that and embrace it, and just like I don't get on their level, make them think like, yeah, this is a good thing to be happy about, and just facilitating the celebration, I guess.
Okay.
One of her original drives here was like she just wanted to help out. We haven't quite explored why she has such a need to help people, but she definitely wanted to help solve the problem here as soon as she got here. So it's kind of a relief to know that like, hey, everybody's happy again, and like the problem is solved. Just a simple, contented like, hey, I'm glad this is complete.
Got it. Okay. So when people are coming up to you and being like, you made it, you saved the town and stuff, you're sort of engaging like, yeah, well, yeah, good job, yeah, everybody's happy. And so you're trying to match that energy. And if somebody comes up to you and is like, you know, we were so concerned and now everything's good, like you sort of like match that by being like, yes, I know, I understand, and we're so happy to have helped, that kind of thing.
Yeah, when big things happen, people kind of like, for good things or bad things, I get the sense that people kind of need a hinge or a fulcrum of some sort. Like they want to know who solved the problem, not just like everything's fixed and we can go back to normal. People would, I imagine, villagers would want to like meet someone or like be a part of it somehow. Not saying that like it's not saying our team deserves praise necessarily, but like people want that sort of connection with what they want to learn things.
Yes. Yeah.
And not to put any like shade on the members of our party who are quieter or more reserved, but like someone has to be that face.
Yeah, you're describing something so perfectly that I was trying to like get to at some point. So that's exactly what I want to be happening here is all of those kinds of interactions where something amazing happens and people are asking questions or praising or, well, you could have done it faster. Like just that whole range is in there. Okay. No, your name is Winnie. Sorry, so it's going to take me a minute to get the character names back. I'm very sorry. I've been trying so hard. Winnie, what is Winnie doing?
It's interesting because I was thinking kind of along the lines of what Battle was doing, but then as I was picturing that, for some reason with Winnie, what came to mind is that, you know, she would kind of be sitting there maybe just like cleaning the handle of her axe or sharpening it or something that's not menacing, but definitely like she looks busy, right? But kids don't notice that, and I think one of the weird things that's not in her backstory specifically, but I just for some reason got this image of like kids are naturally drawn to her and just like,
yeah, I like that.
Like, what are you doing? And like just asking in that kid way of just like questions that any adult would be like, this is not the time to ask that question.
Okay, so what if there's a kid like that just walked right up to you and is like, "What's that?" and like points at your axe, and then you know it's an axe. What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? And just like, but why? And like just randomly in the middle of that goes, "Why? This is an axe? Why?" And like those, okay, so that's happening to you.
Yeah, and then like sometimes when kids see that there's one kid somewhere, they're like, oh, that's where we're all supposed to be. And like, suddenly she has like 10 kids around her, like asking for stories. Maybe not necessarily just from the caves, but like, you know, just stories in general, like more stories. And she's kind of a sucker for kids, kind of like, yeah, the Mandalorian for Baby Yoda, and kind of just gives in and is kind of just telling them stories, and then maybe there's some adults that are kind of watching their kids and keeping an eye on them, or maybe not, and kind of standing nearby, kind of overhearing a little bit and pretending to not be interested, pretending they're just there to keep their kids, from getting into trouble, but really they're kind of interested too.
Yep. I really like this. I think this is a really kind of full picture. I think into the middle of this, someone's gonna run and be like, "They're, you gotta see this. You've got to see," and they can't explain, and people are like, "What's going on?" He's like, I can't, just go, come," and so the crowd starts moving out of the inn. Are y'all gonna follow, do you think?
Does it seem like a worried you gotta see this, or more excited, like, this is so cool, you guys?
It's one of those, like, I don't know what I'm looking at, but it is bigger than I can handle. More brains need to look at this. Like,
It doesn't seem like there's, like, Billy fell down the well or anything like that.
nope, nobody's died that you can tell.
I respond immediately as if I was waiting for this to happen, like, oh, there it is. But I do it in an unobtrusive way. Like, I just kind of get up and move out and around people.
Okay, anybody else going outside?
Oh, like, if the kids go outside, I'm definitely gonna... I'm a little attached to them now.
The
so
kids
I'm gonna make
immediately
sure
go
they're okay.
outside. Yeah.
If everybody else is going outside, I'll follow just to be sure everything is okay.
You heading out too?
Yeah, if there's a commotion, it's definitely worth checking out, making sure everything's okay.
Okay. So you pour out into the street, and so this inn was actually not super close to the warehouses. Let's say it was like 6 or 7 blocks away, and the warehouses that housed the equipment that was producing these fabrics, which just a reminder, these fabrics aren't entirely magical, but like they last longer and they look prettier and they hold their colors better, kind of thing. Lay down. Sorry, my dogs are being weird. And so that machinery was all housed in these warehouses. And from in front of the inn, you could see the roofs of those buildings. And there were, maybe a dozen of them, all like in the backs, let's say northeast corner of this town. And so when you run out into the street, you can very clearly see that those roofs don't look right anymore. And the guy that had run in was like, come on. And if you follow him and you go down that street, there's actually a park that opens up, and the warehouses are on the other side, and you can get a better view of them. And once you're there, you realize that there's, like, the building seems to be coming apart. Like, the walls are separating and the roof is being raised in a couple of different sections. And like the pieces of the wall are being peeled apart and sort of stacked. And as it becomes clearer, you realize that there's a loom beast inside that is taking the warehouse apart. There are several, and it looks like most of the machines that were in that warehouse are up and running. And they're different than the loom beasts you saw before, because the loom beasts you saw before, I think you saw a couple that were like in really good repair and they were moving the hallways. And you saw one that was like not in good repair, and that was where you made the connection, like, oh, this is what is in their warehouses, just like a shut down version. That's really interesting. So you're seeing these loom beasts move sort of creakily, and sometimes they like go to reach for something and they have to approach it a couple different ways until yes, this is how I grab things. But it's happening in all of the warehouses to some degree. They're taking them apart, and the guy's like, what? And the mayor's pushed to the front. And what are y'all doing?
Not sure yet, but feeling responsible for this somehow.
I know the first thought that came to my mind was like a Steve Urkel, did we do that? By bringing back the robots.
Does it seem bad?
They're not. They're actually. Well, roll me a perception check. Let's roll dice.
Everyone?
This
Sure, yeah.
doesn't seem destructive, just changing. but that might still scare the people here.
I just rolled a nat 7.
Yes.
We don't have to. If you don't want to do it, we don't have to. I was just really thrilled that the first roll of the season was a nat 7.
That is kind of wonderful.
Mine was almost a 7, and then it rolled over to 15.
Well, I do have the deck.
15's better than. It's up to you.
What do y'all want?
Everybody else?
You wanna draw a card? I got a yes. I got a yes.
Yep.
Yep. All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
Let's find a not creepy one. Oh, that one's weird.
I mean,
Yeah, I think I can make that work. Oh, another thing that happened when I lost my social mask during the burnout, I lost the ability to vamp while I'm thinking. So I've been pausing a lot more lately. So
You for us to fill in that gap a little bit, or would that distract you further?
it would distract me. I'm so sorry. I'm worried. That's the one thing I'm really trying to fix is the pauses really bother people. So Bucket and Shy will have followed you out there. And Shy is going to like start being like, I need your attention right now. And
Okay.
are you going to pay attention to that?
I think so because everybody else is kind of watching what's happening, and I'll look down.
So Bucket is seems to be it's like you're not quite sure what's happening. He seems agitated, or like he's pushing against an invisible wall, or like there's like, and he's glowing a little bit. And as you're sort of looking at this, all of a sudden it's like he poops out an egg, and it's about the size of a football, and it's very hard and appears to have like some interesting markings on it that aren't quite clear in this atmosphere because it's kind of dark. And Bucket just pooped out an egg.
Athel's face is amazing right now. The horror.
I'm flummoxed. We just got done saying how I'm gonna try my best to not collect another creature.
I don't think you should do that. I think you
One
should
of my
lean in.
creatures just pooped out a robot baby.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't want to pull attention at this point because people are already like a little flummoxed that the robots are doing things, and I recognize we don't even know what's going on. So I think my first instinct is if Bucket laid this thing, I think I want to grab a little bit of brush from the ground, tuck it inside of Bucket, and put the egg inside like a nest.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like the only logical choice. And to just kind of like minimize, like, Bucket's always had an egg. What are you talking about? Like, I'll obviously tell the party later to like, look what happened. But like right now, I don't feel like it's the right time. So I think she's just like kerfuffled and trying to kind of just play it cool. But
Okay,
how
so
do Buckets lay eggs? I have so many questions.
so as you're like going to pick up the egg, like Bucket, like you get a feeling of like tension from Bucket, but then when you put the egg inside of Bucket, like it calms down. But then Shy tries to smell the egg, and the Bucket's like no, and like sort of like crowds up against you, and seems to be very protective of this egg. So I think
Shy, leave it.
yeah. So I think you're distracted. You're distracted by this. What other
Yes.
perception rolls did we get?
When you get a dirty 20.
Okay. Let me hear the others real quick.
8.
8.
Natural 1 plus 6, 7.
Okay, so a unnatural 7.
I didn't know if you wanted to do something with the fact that
Nope.
the roll was a 1.
Has to
that's
be.
all. Okay.
Oh yeah, no. I do like to know when there are ones in roles like this, but it's not like you fall and onto the point of your sword or anything. So I think, Aaliyah, I think I want you to get a little distracted by something. And what if it is what if you notice that somebody has started taking like bets, right? Like somebody has started up like a, okay, what do you think's going to happen? Like, what do you want to put your money on? And it's just not something Aaliyah has really seen yet. Does this sound, are we moving in this direction? Do you have other suggestions?
I feel like I've seen gambling, um, and gambling on the outcomes of conflict is something that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I might like be distracted by it in the sense of like, oh, happens here too.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah, that works great. Would she, so I'll make suggestions to my players, and they are fully free to be like, yes, I want that one, or like, no, I hate it, and I can't think of something right now, or a completely different thing. So, for example, I'm gonna be like, hey, do you think Aaliyah would there be a moment of hesitation at all if she's used to seeing gambling on conflict? Does she like look back at the scene like, is this a conflict? Do you think there would be a pause there at all?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, yeah. That works.
Okay. What is Yume's relationship with kids?
I don't think there's a strong, significant thing, but she's spent time with a lot of like children of strangers at the church. But I think all of her interactions with children has been positive so far.
I was thinking maybe some kids start to like run in that direction and you stop them. Although so that could be an option. Or what about somebody just like sits down on the ground and starts crying because like this is too many things happening. Which do you think would be, you want that one?
More the second.
Okay.
Did you say that we all notice that this is a loom beast rearranging things, or
I think, yeah,
players?
you know it's a loom beast as characters. I really like the idea that is a very strong image y'all carry around, and like that it's a very distinctive critter.
And I think Yume's torn because she really wants to get in there to see what's happening, both because, oh no, people are distressed, we want to fix the problem, and also, like, we just made friends with these things, why are they suddenly acting out?
Right.
It's like, wants to get there quick, but then also, like, if someone's upset along the way, she'll definitely get caught up in that, trying to make sure that person's fine before moving on.
And the person isn't gonna, it's an older woman, and she's just gonna say, no, I'm fine, this is our livelihood, and we thought it was better, and it's not, but I'm fine, you are the hero, like, go hero. She tries to get you to keep moving, so you're just momentarily distracted.
Well, we're here to make sure you're all okay. Are you sure you're not injured? And she checks.
And
sure
she's
fine.
no, I'm fine. And a younger boy kind of runs up and is like, Grandma, come on, you know, and like starts to help her.
Mm-hmm. Pat him on the head before scooting off towards the warehouse.
Perfect. Winnie, while everyone is, you know, losing the element of surprise here, can I say that you actually move close enough that you can see? Is it okay that you move closer very quickly? So you're actually going to see one of the loom beasts still sort of in its shutdown configuration, but starting to wake up. And it almost appears that it's communicating with one of the little bulb bots. You also notice that there are like 30 of them now, not the 2 or 3 you brought back. So there's like a bunch of them. You know, it's like a line of them coming from where you think the caverns might have been. But what really pulls your focus is the loom beast and the bullbots seem to be like having a conversation, which you saw in the caverns. And you've also seen the bullbots communicate with each other, and it almost seems to be like on a hearing level you can't hear. Yeah, so thoughts?
My initial thoughts are do they replicate like gremlins? But you said there's like a line of them coming from the caves.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're like ants. They just like follow the scent of their robot brethren.
Right.
I like ants
Shoot,
better.
who
I
left
was
the candy
thinking
bar
like
out?
I was thinking like lemmings, but that's a little bit darker. So I'm happy to think of it like ants.
Yeah, ants are closer.
Um, I mean, what's kind of going through Winnie's mind is that potentially these loom beasts were somehow put into like a coma or like magical sleep, basically, to be put to use, and like these robots are like, oh my god, we finally found, like, basically, like, we went to the caves to find the humans that had gone missing. Um, the robots have kind of gone on their adventure out of the caves to find the loom beasts that had gone missing
Right.
and kind of wake them up and bring them home. So to me, it's like these these loom beasts are trying to go home to their families, and I think that's very important. And so I'm like, well, shoot, if the villagers want us to stop them, I don't think I could bring myself to stop loom beasts from going home to their families.
Fair enough. So I think when everybody else catches up, what you're going to be seeing is the loom beasts are being very careful. They're not trying to take anything down that isn't the warehouse, and they're removing pieces in a very logical fashion. There are some that are holding up bits until their burden is relieved, and then they move to another section to hold that up. And it's very methodical, and they're piling the pieces. And if you are you going to start trying to do something, or are you going to stand and watch for a little while?
I'm gonna stand and watch and
Okay.
just see what happens.
Okay.
And
Okay.
try, if anybody's trying to like rush forward to stop them or whatever, I'll make sure that they kind of
Stay back. Stay
go.
back. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's say you stand. Let's say you're there for like a good 30 minutes, and like the crowd behind you gets bigger and bigger, and there might be some angry murmuring that is probably silenced by one of your glares, and you see actually another loom beast from further back come over and pick up like a stack of the material and walk away with it, and then you see another one come over, and so the stacks of materials they're taking those away.
Is it the warehouse materials or like the cloth materials?
No, the warehouse materials. So a lot of the warehouses had stopped being able to produce because they really needed this tool, and it looks like anything related to like the fabric and stuff is being left in a very neat pile, and that's probably more manipulated by the bulb bots than the big loom beasts. But they're being very respectful of all the property. They're not stepping on any houses or anything like that.
Interesting. If Aaliyah or Battle or Yume comes anywhere near, I'll kind of share some of my observations about what I think might be happening.
I feel like Battle would eventually kind of trying to be nonchalant about her recent findings. Kind of try to be casual and walk up and be like, so what's going on?
I think I'd want to try to get in and try to talk to them, because we were able to communicate simply with them in the caves, weren't we?
Yeah, I think
With
you
yes or no
you could.
answers.
Yeah. Because yes or no answers, because they blink the light bulbs on their heads once for yes and
Would we
twice for
be
no.
stopped from like entering the warehouse to get close to at least, like, it sounds like the loom beasts are like poking and doing a lot of work that maybe we shouldn't get in the way of, but can we at least get to the bulb bots?
Yeah, I think what would happen if you got closer is that the loom beasts would take absolutely no notice of you. Very similar to the loom beasts back in the cavern. But I think a bulb bot will run up to you, and it's somehow familiar. You think this might be the one that you talked to in the cavern. And they all look the same, so you're not quite sure why you have that feeling, but you do. So one of the bulb bots does run up to you.
Thank you.
Is everyone safe here?
It blinks once for yes.
Do you all need help?
There's a pause, and it sort of twists around, and then back, and blinks no.
And, the rest of you are with me if you want to be, I imagine. Like, I'm not doing this alone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Trying to play it cool.
And I,
Anybody else want to ask questions? I think, is that what you were implying, Hume? Like, you're all here too, you can ask questions?
I wasn't, but that is
Oh,
a
I'm
good
sorry,
point.
yeah.
I think Aaliyah wants I'm not distracted anymore, would want to follow the bots with the cloth.
Follow the bots with a cloth.
With the
They're
They're
Okay.
leaving the cloth in the warehouse. It sounds like they're just taking
Yeah.
like the wood and the maybe metal from the warehouse.
Right. They're basically taking the
from
walls,
the
and the
ceiling.
in the ceiling, and they're leaving everything else. So like you can
I thought they were
see.
taking the fabric away. They're not.
No, they're piling it
Okay.
in one spot in each of the warehouses,
Okay.
but like you see like a human-sized desk that's set very gently on the ground that might have been on like the second floor, you know, kind of thing. And so
Okay.
anything that's not part of the building, they're kind of piling together so it's not in their way.
Okay.
We do a little memory refresh real quick.
Yeah.
When Aaliyah said cloth, I thought of the one that Battle was carrying into the cavern in the first place.
Oh right, that
I
scarf
don't remember
thing.
what that had anything to do with. Like, why did we have that, and what was the purpose at the end?
I think the mayor was like, I think there was a superstition about like you had to have a piece of the cloth they'd made to survive in the caverns. Yeah, and it made Battle ridiculously suspicious.
Okay,
That was
so there
Buckets'
no
first job.
confirmation. There was no guarantee that there was any magic or
No,
curse
'cause
or
you-
anything it had to do with the scarf. but
Right.
That was very suspicious.
Yeah, and like you all looked at it, and like it was inert. It didn't seem to have any special properties other than being very, very soft. Very
So the
soft.
answer is we didn't use that for anything. It's just around still, maybe still carried in a bucket.
Did Yume or did
no.
did Winnie give it to one of the town members that we found in the caves or no?
Right. No, I do remember there being an action where somebody wanted to touch it, and Battle was like, no. And I don't remember who that was. Was it Winnie who wanted to give it back to maybe the mayor's son because the mayor had given it to you?
I think that was it.
Maybe the
That
mayor
sounds
was like,
right.
this is my son's, and he left without it, and so he's doomed, or something like that. Does that sound?
Or did you give it back to his son when we found him?
Yeah, I think maybe you did.
It had like a rose pattern on it,
Yeah.
and but it was given to the son that we rescued,
There you go.
so that they could wrap themselves in it.
Great. Because he was upset, I think, when you found him. Upset is the word. Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, so you're talking to the Bulbot. Aaliyah's over checking out like how they're piling things. Battle or Winnie, are you with Aaliyah or Yume or something completely different?
I think I'm with Yume.
Do you have any questions for the Bulbot?
I would probably ask, are you taking the materials back to the caves?
And it blinks no immediately. Like there's no pause.
Lenny, I think all we can really do is get the villagers accustomed to this. Because if they want to, like, continue to make goods with the looms, they might have to coexist with their new friends here.
Okay.
Well, do we know if the loom bots are staying? I'm gonna ask turn to the robot. Are you making a new home here?
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
He blinks yes immediately, like no hesitation.
Are you going to keep making fabric?
Blinks yes.
Oh. So, I think you were right, Yume. I think they're I assumed they were leaving, but it sounds like they're pretty happy and are gonna maybe help the village.
So to clarify, does it seem like they're taking... Are they taking the materials to just, like... to rebuild themselves, to remodel the building to suit their needs? What does it seem like they're doing with these pieces of metal, other than, like, it sounds like they're reorganizing.
So
I think
it's
they're building warehouses where they don't have to be all folded up.
Mm.
so it's nighttime, and they're going a little further out than you can see when they're picking up the materials. But that's a pretty good guess, because when they stand up, like, they are much taller than the warehouse, and the warehouse was like 2 or 3 stories. So that's a good guess that they're building new places for them to do their own work. And you might be able to confirm that by following them or waiting until morning. They're not doing anything to hurt anybody. So I think
Well-
somebody... Yep.
When I hear Yume and Winnie say this, I join them and I ask the robot if we can help.
The robot stops and turns back to look, turns back, and says no. But, like, gently, like, you get the idea that he says no, thank you.
Well, then I think we need to let the townspeople know what's going on so they can all continue their celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Though I don't know if that means that some of them are going to be out of a job.
I'd like to volunteer to like stand watch over this reorganization while you go and
That's really good
interface with
idea.
the townspeople.
Mm-hmm.
So the mayor is going to have been, like, at the front of the crowd and probably helping crowd control. And as you're discussing, if anybody starts to approach back to him, he's gonna come meet you,
I will absolutely do that.
and he's gonna say, "What is happening? Are they leaving? Are they unhappy with us? Like, because I think you will have explained to the mayor what you found, and that the loom beasts seem to have been native to the caverns and were, like, dynamic and alive almost, and the ones that he had were sort of the inert versions, and the bullbots will revivify them or something. So he has that information. So he's like, what are we doing?
Well, I don't think they're not happy with you all here. I think the opposite is true. I think they're very happy to be maybe out of the cave or with the villagers or reunited somehow. They all seem to be doing great. And I think all of the villagers can be friends with these new critters. They seem to be doing a lot better than before. This might just be a new normal for everyone.
Okay. So,
But nobody's in any danger, I promise.
okay. All right. So they're not going to start taking our houses apart, right? Just the warehouses, it looks like.
I don't think so.
And they're not going to step on anybody, right? Those things are huge.
We watched them for a while and they're very careful.
All right. And you think maybe they'll still want to make cloth? And not for us, but with us, right? Like, we always felt like the machinery we were working with almost it always added something, and it almost felt like a collaboration. Do you think that will continue?
I don't see why it wouldn't. They haven't, like, thrown any of the good, like... They haven't thrown any of those materials out of the workshop, out of the warehouse or anything. It doesn't seem like they're planning against that. But there might need to be more of a, like, an equal exchange.
He
more of a
looks
collaboration.
sort of like he's thinking, and he's but how do we communicate? Okay. I need to think about this, and I need to talk to the other council members. But I think right now what we need to do is get everybody home. So,
That's why I came to you first, because I thought
Okay.
you did the best job of getting everyone calmed down and reassured that things are fine. For
Okay.
now, while the town plans
okay, so hang on one second. So he like points at a couple of guys and basically like makes hand signals. And he climbs up on top of a box and is like, everything's okay. Everybody go home. We will have a town meeting soon. We'll have plenty of answers. Everyone's safe. And he just keeps repeating that. And people start, being like, all right. And there seems to be good trust in this town. Like, he was elected and blah, blah, blah. So they all start going home. And it sounds like Aaliyah was going to hang out and guard. Anybody else with Aaliyah garden stuff? Or you heading back? Like, what do you... Oh, sorry. So the mayor gets off the box and he's like, okay, I can have some people stay and watch in case they start doing something different. Do you think that would impose on them? Or do you think that would be okay?
You can ask the robot.
Yeah, come with us.
And he's
We
like,
should
what?
probably teach him to talk to the Bulbot after
Yeah.
all.
You can ask them yes or no questions, and if they blink once, it's yes, and if they blink twice, it's no.
His face lights up and he was like, I can work with that.
While all of this is happening, as we're walking back and forth, I think Battle's constantly kind of tucking Bucket behind her leg because she doesn't want to have anybody notice or be like, what is this egg you've brought from the caverns?
Okay. I'm making notes in really pretty ink. It's called Sub-Zero and it has pretty sparkles. So the mayor is like on your heels, right? And the same Bullbot comes back and sort of like tilts like, did you need something? And the mayor is like, okay, so I talked to...
Guy, here, we have a new friend for you.
Okay.
He has a couple questions.
So I just ask yes or no, and he'll... What you said, once for yes, twice for no? And the Bullbot blinks once. And he's like, all right. So he crouches down, and he's like, welcome to our town. And the Bullbot blinks yes. And he's like, we want to make sure you're comfortable. Bullbot blinks yes. Is it okay if we watch in case you need anything, or in case we can advise, like don't tear this down? And the Bullbot thinks about it, thinks and says yes. And the mayor thinks for a second and he says, do you know where they're taking all the materials? The Bullbot says yes. And he says, okay, so I think what I'll do is what if I have a couple of people, folks, human things, persons, Jesus.
People's fine.
People. I usually say humans in real life, and so, but there's more than that, and yeah, people. So I'm gonna have a couple of people hang out at the spots where they're tearing things down, just in case, because people live near where. Is that okay? The Bullbot says yes, and he goes, and then I'll have a couple people over where they're taking the material, and then he stops. He says, are they building something? The Bullbot says yes, and he says, is it because when they're unfolded they don't fit? Bullbot says yes. And the mayor's like, okay, do you need more material? And the Bullbot thinks about it, and it like very softly blinks yes, and then very softly blinks no, like maybe. And the mayor's like, okay, well, I mean, we have building materials, so I'll make sure that whoever's watching where they're building can get that material. Is that okay? And the Bullbot blinks yes, like, yeah, that would be great. And the mayor's like, all right. Do you think we could check in the morning, see if status? Can I get a status from you in the morning? And the Bullbot's like, yep. And he's like, I'll come find you. And the Bullbot like blinks like, sure you will. Like, I'll find you, is the attitude of that yes. And it scurries off. And the mayor stands up and he's like, I think that was a very productive meeting. And I think now it is time for a beverage or two and then bed. But I have a couple of things that I need to take care of. So you are, of course, welcome to stay in the inn as long as you'd like. Everything is on the town. If it is not too much trouble, may I meet with you in the morning. I think there are some more details that I would love to hear about the caverns, and I might. He kind of like gestures at the warehouses and is like, "You've seen where they're from. I might need you tomorrow." And his communication skills are breaking down. He did a great job with the bullbot, but like this is a lot. It's pretty late, so he basically is like, "Can I meet with you tomorrow morning? Is that okay?"
Nod very slowly and confidently with a smile and make a gesture like breathe.
He's like, "Okay, all right. I need the council members, and I need to get some people over there. Okay, I got this. All right, thank you so much." And he scurries off, and you see him like grabbing people in the crowd, and like some people start turning back, and he's grabbing some others and pointing, and he really seems like he's off to a good start. What are the rest of you doing? Yeah.
Because I want to adopt this bulbot so badly that we can't because it's so important to the community here now.
I'm just gonna write all set, and I'll just randomly remember what happened. So he's gonna yeah. So what are the rest of you doing? Aaliyah, you originally wanted to stay and watch. You still doing that with all the other people?
Unless anyone from the party directs me otherwise, I'm staying and I'm doing the watch.
And are you going to be?
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Yumi.
We're just saying we can scoop her up because the mayor said, like, he's gonna put people on watch, so like Leah doesn't have to unless she wants to.
I'll follow that as if it's an instruction.
And are you going to be sort of convivial with the other people watching, or are you going to like perch on a high spot and pretend to be Hawkeye?
I think I'm gonna follow Yume's instruction that I don't need to
Oh, okay.
stay on watch. Yeah.
Yeah, because we all haven't really, like, this is the same day we got back, right? We haven't had a night's rest since
Yeah.
the cave.
All
We're
right.
probably
So
pretty tired.
is this one of those moments where you all kind of look at each other and you're like, nap time?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Battle's like, I got something to show you over here when we go to the rooms. But like,
Okay.
we can figure out what it is later. I don't think anything massive is.
Ooh.
Sorry, the dogs are playing. I don't think anything massive is about to happen.
Okay.
So,
Why don't we, we've been playing for about an hour and we usually take a quick break. So why don't we do that? I have to find the break spot in here, but you can all run away.
where's the break button?
You want a 5 or a 10-minute break? 10 minutes. Okay, so we will be back here at 45 minutes after the hour stream. And we are very excited to see you. So, you all take a break for 10 minutes and we'll be back in just a bit. Thank you so much. And players, go ahead and run away. I used to have a be right back. I think it's this one. This might be the one. No, that was terrible. Hello, Stream. We have returned. We've really returned.
Apologies, everyone.
Okay. All right. So you were headed back to the inn. So let's say you make it back to the inn. No one really like tries to stop you. Really quickly, Hannah. Yeah. Oh, you're looking. Okay. I saw something in Hannah's camera. So let's say you're back at the inn. The innkeeper, who I don't think I ever named, and if I did, let's just pretend her name is Rosie, is like, oh yes, your rooms are still. We didn't change anything. You can head right up. Are you okay with that? Anybody need anything changes? Do you you want baths brought up, food, drink?
Aaliyah, are you okay staying in the suite with us?
I sort of look like confused, like as if, like, do I, like, have a choice?
So I think
Look that way, or you ask that out loud.
I think
No, it's not verbal.
I think
Okay.
I think they put you because you came in as the threesome. I think they put you in a suite, but I'm gonna go ahead and say so like a central area. And I'm gonna say it's the only suite they have, and the rest is like different size rooms because it's 3 stories, but it's not like gigantic. And I'll say that the suite has 4 rooms coming off of it, so you were only using 3. So I think if that gives a little more context to Leah, like, do you want your own room or you want to hang out with them in there?
So if someone tells me like I'd have my own room in the suite, then like there's no question. I'll absolutely stay with them. I am a little confused by all these choices I keep being given.
You the player or you the character?
Elia.
Okay. So she's so the innkeeper's gonna make sure you're all set, and then she's gonna go back to doing whatever innkeepers do at night. So y'all head up to the suite. Now there are stairs, but but I can make it not stairs in a blink of an eye. So y'all head up to the suite.
Yes. I
Okay.
pick up Bucket very carefully to climb the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm carrying a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of like gesture pointing at the other characters like, hey, we need to talk.
What's wrong? Bucket was looking kind of strange earlier.
I need to take something out in the room, but I need to make sure Bucket's okay with me doing that, because Bucket's is in a little bit of a... I can't explain it right now.
Okay. I go and shut the door.
Okay. Shona, do I need to roll for something to see how successful I am in taking this egg out, or how do you want to make this happen?
Do you have animal handling?
I believe so. Please hold. That shields abilities. It's under like bonus action or other, or
It should be in your skills. Hold, I'm pulling up.
pardon. Animal handling. Yes. It's +6.
Yeah. So what I'm looking for is like, how much does Bucket trust you, or is it okay if I use that skill for that?
Sure.
Do it.
Okay.
Roll
here
them
we go.
bones.
Rolling it. 16 + 6. 22.
I have a calculator and I'm using it, and it's purple and it's got really big buttons so I can see with my glasses off, and I love it. If it were sparkly, it would be great.
That's awesome.
Yep, 22. So you're all in the suite. You've gotten everybody's attention. You've set Bucket down. Am I right so far? Okay. Now, how are you
I
gonna?
feel like
So you
making Shy sit in the corner,
okay?
and then just kind of everybody give it like a 2-foot berth.
Okay. And you tell me how you're reaching into the bucket, and I'll tell you how Bucket reacts.
I think I kneel down and I look Bucket in what we have so far assumed is sort of the face.
There are like
I
some
see bucket-
scratches on one side that kind of look like a face, and that seems to
Yeah.
be front most often.
Yep. And I go, listen, I'm gonna take it out. I'm not taking it away. I'm gonna put it right in front of you. We're not going anywhere. Because I don't know what Bucket's gonna do. I don't
Bucket-
know if Bucket understands me, but so far it seemed to work. So then I kind of gingerly.
Bucket's gonna like shift back and forth on their wheels a little bit, but then
Okay.
move like a little bit closer to you.
Okay. I think it's like it's okay the whole time. Just like verbal comforting, going very slow, like again, bomb delicacy. And I gingerly try to pick it up and set it down on the floor right in front of Bucket.
Okay, so Bucket's gonna let you do this, but Bucket's gonna be right next to the egg. Like,
That's fine.
yeah.
And then I'll turn to the party and say, we were all standing trying to figure out what was going on with the loom beasts, and I look down and Bucket starts glowing and then just laid this.
Laid it from where?
You know, in all of my years of understanding anatomy and all of the work that I've done understanding bodies in the past has no explanation for what this is.
Okay.
What color is it?
It is a lighter version of the sort of like coppery gold color that Bucket is.
Ooh, I always thought Bucket was gray. That's good information.
Maybe Bucket was gray.
I don't know that we've ever defined the color, but if your brain says coppery gold, I'm going to assume that it's always been coppery gold.
There's a reason for it, so I'm happy we are going with that. Thank you.
I did not mean to confuse you. Apologies.
No, it's just I'm gonna be doing that for a while because it was a while ago, and I don't want to review my notes because that'll just kind of be overwhelming. So I'll be doing kind of like a, did I make this up right now or did that have a reason? So that was what you saw. You saw me being like, no, but there was a reason. So
I want to look at it for like etchings as we're having this conversation, or like, because I haven't had a good look at it. I just kind of stuffed it. So I want to see if there's any like patterns, or if it. I just know that it's a big heavy egg that's like the size of a football.
it's about the size of a football, which means it's really big, and it's kind of like the size of Bucket. Like Bucket's only like maybe 1.5 feet tall. It is really heavy, and it's the outside of the egg doesn't feel like egg. It feels harder. It doesn't seem to be scratchable very easily, but it doesn't have any other markings on it.
I ask you if it's hot or cold.
I touch it. Do I find?
Did I ever describe what it feels like when you're touching like Bucket or one of those critters?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did I describe it as sort of like definitely metallic but felt kind of alive? So there was like a heat,
Yep.
but like didn't feel like humanoid heat.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna get the same feeling from the egg.
I share this with the party.
Well, I guess if you're bringing Bucket along for the journey, you have another addition to the family.
Can any of you roll me? I want an excuse to dump lore. Can I just use history for that? Roll me a history check if you want to see if you know where this came from or have ever seen this before.
I rolled another nat 7. I'm sorry.
Good lord.
That's a +2. If you don't want to right now because you want to lore it up, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't really want to right now.
That's
Does
fine.
anybody else feel very strongly about it?
I just trying to justify it, so it's not just like, oh,
Well,
roll
I-
2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
thought
trying to
the
think because
same
Winnie's
player could-
pretty sheltered.
Winnie's pretty
the
shallow,
same-
yeah.
I got it. Like,
Same
just when
player
I think
can't
I'm
do the
starting to
7
understand
thing, right?
magic, things. I'm sorry, what was that, Aaliyah?
Oh, I thought I remembered that the same player couldn't have a deck of Wonder card in the same game.
I think we did make that rule, but yeah. So you may,
Sorry.
so Winnie, you are fairly sheltered, but you have traveled some. Yume, is that the same for you?
Yeah, but Yume's done a lot of reading.
Yume has done a lot of reading.
On like religious and arcane magic, and she's been really, really interested in what's been going on with the mistress and
Yeah,
in the
okay.
cavern and stuff. And just like right when I think her initial thought was like, oh no, is this all that weird magic again? But it seems to be fitting along the lines of Bucket and the Loom Beasts and the caverns and all this. It just seems right. It's all aligned.
I think, yeah, I definitely think you can roll on that then. And, Aaliyah's comes from, I think, the furthest out. So I think that just gives you a reason to roll there. And I see you
That's a
roll,
natural 20.
ooh, a nat 20, great.
17.
Hey.
And that makes for a
First natural
history
20
check?
of the year.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What does that make it?
If it's history, it's a 24.
Great, okay.
Wow.
Aaliyah, this looks a lot like you've seen some super weird stuff in your time, and as you ventured out into the world, you're recognizing that the stuff you're like, oh yeah, is kind of weird. Like it's not common. The Bucket and the other like creatures like Bucket that you saw were similar to something you'd seen that were sort of like tiny robot servant types, but the ones in the caverns were bigger and some of them looked a lot more worn down. And you've never heard of any of them laying an egg, but do you think Aaliyah would start wondering if, like, well, I've never seen any of them reproduce. Maybe this is the way they reproduce. Do you think she'd go down that road?
I think she'd wonder if it was if its purpose was actually to carry this, whatever this is. If it was like because it doesn't seem to have the same purpose as the other robots anyway, because it joined us and it didn't. So now she's like, well, maybe this is a suitcase robot Bucket.
It's a
Thing.
kangaroo robot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yume. In your reading, you have come across individuals that appear to be like in this world there are inventors and there are great wizards and there are like new spells and like, you know, new creatures made, and like those are all like very big deals, and there's battle stuff and there's religious magic type things. But in your reading, you've seen sort of like hints or mentions, like to somebody that seems like the mistress, and you also recall a mention of somebody that was really experimenting with a type of robot that had a kind of sentience, and that specifically that their way of reproducing was really unpredictable. So sometimes they would build new ones, sometimes new ones would just appear, sometimes one robot would split into two, sometimes a couple robots dismantle and come back together. And robots is kind of the wrong word because again they're kind of sentient, and it's not like you can unplug an arm, so the ones that come apart are really odd, you know, when that happens. And I don't think you've ever heard of one laying an egg, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm. was re- I was really confused at first when this egg was so big when you said that Bucket laid the egg. Like, it doesn't seem to make sense with how, like, animals lay eggs, but I have read about, like, constructs and other, like, mechanical creatures before don't necessarily follow rules like that. How things are just weird to people, how they can happen in ways we wouldn't expect. I'm just looking at, like, to the whole group one at a time as I'm going through all of this. And it seems like the loom beasts kind of explain, well, it doesn't explain, but they follow that same property where they were all just individual looms yesterday, and now that the little bots, the bull bots arrived and, like, worked on them, they're massive now. And we didn't pull all of that out of the cave. That's just, they expanded. It didn't seem to follow. It's like, where'd all that come from? And it seems like that seems sort of like stuff appearing property is similar here.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. I feel like Battle's probably gonna feel overwhelmed, but I'm gonna guess since I don't know. Does anybody else want to look at the egg before I put it back in?
Magic is weird.
Magic is weird.
I mean, this is kind of our robot now, so
Yeah.
it's gonna hatch at some point if it's like any other egg.
Do you think we
So-
have to? How do we help it grow?
Maybe Bucket's bucket will keep it warm.
I think we just leave it to Bucket for now.
Does Bucket? I ask Bucket if they need help.
It shakes in, like, it's watched you all shake your heads no, so it kind of mimics that gesture.
Oh, it's so
Yeah.
cute.
I
I'm-
love Bucket.
I mean, does Bucket need food or a baby shower or?
Oh my gosh, a row baby shower! It's only custom, right?
Oh my god.
How do we explain this?
Row baby.
Oh no.
Okay, I call Dandy into the room with us. And for anyone who's new, Dandy is my giant, like, glowing bee familiar.
He's like the size of a bread box. And
I
he's,
think he's in some of our art on the stream.
Is
I don't
he-
know, I'm blind.
yeah, he's on your shoulder. On your shoulder he's much smaller, but isn't he, he's like the size of like your cat, right? Like he's pretty big.
A little smaller.
Little
Like,
smaller?
Maybe a little bigger than, like, an adult fist.
Okay. And isn't he's kind of fuzzy, right? Like he, yeah.
Definitely, like, bright yellow and black.
Mhm.
Or actually, I think he changes colors. He glows.
Yeah.
And very fuzzy. Very magic.
Very magic.
Breaks all the rules.
Much magic.
I call him out from his pocket dimension, wherever he's from, and when we were in the caverns, when we first met Bucket, and we were, like, trying to understand what all these little bots were up to, and if they were, like, real, if they were just,
Oh, didn't
like,
you do the heart
monster
thing?
stuff, or if they were real creatures,
Yeah.
sense what their feelings were.
Yeah. I
And
remember
it
that.
wasn't super
was good.
revealing at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
It was just kind of, like, flat. But a lot of things have changed with our understanding of all these bots,
True.
and since we've solved some of the problems, so I want Dandy to heart sense, like, again, and see what its, like, current emotional state is.
I am deliberately not gonna look up what heart sense
Nope, make it up.
is, because I'm gonna make shit up now. Here we go. So, does Dandy have to touch the thing that they're heart sensing?
Yes.
So I think Dandy is smart enough to not approach from the egg side, but sort of
Right.
like, you can see me, but I'm not gonna touch the egg. And you notice that behavior, like Dandy is called into existence and already knows to leave the egg alone. And so he'll land on the rim of the bucket. Is that okay?
Or just on the floor next to him.
Okay.
Just nuzzle up.
Is it
on the side.
cuddling Bucket? Is Dandy
Yeah,
cuddling
I think
Bucket?
so. That's cute.
Oh my goodness. I want to attract an artist that likes all the weird things that we come up with that will just produce random art. It'll be great. Okay, so he's cuddling up to the bucket, and the bucket sort of like turns a little bit to acknowledge, like, yes, we are having this conversation now. And so Dandy comes back to you, and what you get from Dandy is a feeling of determination and like protective feelings about the egg. Sort of a torn between two sort of loyalties, like, and you can tell like one of them's new and that could be the egg, and one of them's a little older and that could be Battle. And the protectiveness has like a fierce edge to it, but like confidence. Like, there's a lot of fear there. Like, I will protect egg and that will just be the end of it. And there's a little bit of like expectation, like they didn't know this was gonna happen. There's not really surprise there, but like A did not equal B in this scenario for Bucket. But now that it's here, no one cares. Bucket expects there to be another change after receiving egg. And I think they're
Unexpected feels here.
they're feeling a little defensive, I think, about the people in the room, but that's sort of calming down because no one is touching the egg.
I gently put a hand on Battle's arm and look like I'm going to speak to her, but before I do, Bucket, do you want to stay with us? Like, travel with Battle and the rest of us?
Bucket sort of shifts back and forth, like that unsure movement. Not the head shake, but like is sort of like rolling the wheels. Why is my computer making noises? Stop it. And sort of turns away a little bit. And oh, I don't know how to do this.
Take your time.
I think Bucket would like sort of hesitantly go around the egg and touch Battle and then go back to the egg and like battle egg.
Well, that kind of supports what I'm going to say to Battle next.
And then, well, hang on. And then it'll sort of kind of like very hesitantly go towards you, Yume, but like really hesitantly, and before touching you, kind of go back to the egg. And it'll do that with the rest of you. It's like very hesitant, doesn't quite touch, goes back to the egg, and then goes, touches Battle, touches the egg.
Looks like Bucket's doing a pretty good job at showing us what Dandy told me, which is, like, Dandy basically thinks that Bucket has a sense of responsibility to wherever this egg came from.
Yeah.
Not super clear if it's, like, a child or something, but Bucket really cares about this egg. But he also seems to care about you. So, I guess we should just acknowledge that it's a priority for them.
I mean, if Bucket, whatever Bucket needs, I just want to make sure we can help take care of Bucket so Bucket can do what Bucket needs to do.
Bucket appears to have a thought and rushes over to Shy and touches Shy and then runs back to the egg. And Shy's gonna follow Bucket and is gonna like nuzzle the egg, and Bucket is gonna be content.
Are we saying puppy snuggle egg time?
Puppy snuggle egg time. You okay,
Puppy
Yume?
cuddles!
I'm okay.
All right.
Too many feels.
Yeah,
This
feelings.
is so cute.
Feelings.
Our little family is growing.
All right, so what is that resolve for y'all? Are you?
I think at this point I just tell Bucket I'm gonna put the egg back. I put the egg back. Well, No, maybe I take out some blanket from wherever there is and make a little spot for the three of them so they can all cuddle? I guess.
Yeah, I think
Put
that works.
some like fresh material inside a bucket so it's cleaner and warmer instead of just brush.
Okay. Okay. Yep, and Bucket's cool with all of this. And when you move the egg over to the blanket, Shy comes and lays down around it, and Bucket sort of stays off the blanket, sort of like in guard mode. And everyone seems very satisfied, critter-wise. Not speaking for the rest of you.
Leah clears her throat, pulls the curtains in the suite living area, and nods at everyone and goes to her room. Shuts the door quietly.
Overly
It's not
chipper.
clear whether, there was some emotion or just confusion or what was going on.
Overly chipper, you may have shot like, okay, good night, see you in the morning, get some good rest.
Okay.
So, but I sort of a bit too late, like through the door, like, yeah, good night.
Okay, and what are Winnie and Battle gonna do?
So at this point we have one other room and then kind of the sitting area.
No, there are 4 rooms. So
Oh.
so Aaliyah's in one. You may, I think you said that you were the one that was saying you were overly chipper. Was that from you?
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at the screen. And so Yume's gone into another one, and so Battle and Winnie are out in the common area, and I think that's where you set up the blankets, probably near the door you're gonna be using. Or do you think you would have set up the blankets like in the room you're gonna be using?
Probably either in the common area right outside of the door where I'm gonna be staying, or in the room, because, like, Shy's so young and this is weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, pick one. Either's good. In the room?
Inside's fine.
Okay.
So I'll probably pat my friends on the back and say goodnight and head in and tell Shy, stay and protect.
Got it. Okay. And Winnie?
Is there like a fireplace in the common area?
Sure.
I think Winnie is kind of all throughout most of this exchange, other than when she was like, "Does it need a baby shower?" Was kind of very pensively just like neurodiversely looking into the flames, like zoning out a little bit and just thinking about something different and holding that necklace around her neck with one hand. And so she kind of, as people have been leaving the common area to go to their different rooms, just kind of like nodding acknowledgement, but not really like looking at them or making eye contact or saying anything. And I think she's gonna stay there for a while longer until the fire dies down, and then go to the room and go to bed.
Okay. All right. So you all bedded down for the night, and no surprise, you're going to be able to sleep all the way into the morning. You're going to get a long rest. What I wanted to ask is we're kind of close to when we would normally stop. So we can stop here. I think I probably have another like half hour of content, but if we're good here, we could be sorry. Would you like to stop here? Or you want 30 more minutes? Anyone want to stop here? Because that'll be okay.
I'm fine with either.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind stopping here.
Okay. This is a very clean stop, so I'm completely okay with that.
Agreed.
Apologies for taking up like 20 minutes to figure out an egg.
I gotta tell you, I was talking to my husband about this, and I was like, I don't know how far we'll get, and he was like, well, with that group,
Yeah, we've been known for years to get invested in the oddest things.
yes, but I love it, right? Like, it doesn't bother me in the least, and it's very fun. Okay, so we're gonna stop there now. In the olden days, I would ask you what you learned to kind of wrap this up, and I would ask you to give me any moments that you thought really stood out for the other players in your group, and I'd type those up in the moments in the Discord and have you all vote on which one was your favorite, and that person would get inspiration, or well, whatever the equivalent of you get to roll a d20 again whenever you want. Do we still want to do those two things, learned in moments? I think it's a nice way to kind of wrap up. Okay.
Are you asking if we want to continue to do that for the campaign moving forward?
Yeah.
Or just tonight?
Well,
Skipping it.
I don't for the campaign moving forward and tonight.
I like it. I think it's a nice. I think it's a nice flair, specifically for your channel, the way you DM.
I like.
And fun for us to go over things that happened. Like, we don't go through a whole lot. Like, we don't blow through content in this game. We kind of just like experience things and move
Yeah.
slowly. But like, it's still nice to have those little glimpses back. Like, oh, this was nice.
Yeah, I like that. I also like the learns because,
It helps
it
us next time.
it tells me what you are thinking of for stuff, because I have my own idea of what's going on, so it's really interesting to see what you think is going on. Okay, so stream, we're going to go over learned first, and then we'll go over moments. If there were any moments that you particularly liked, stream, put them in the chat, and they will count, as long as they're polite. Okay, so you've got until we're done with learned, so put any good moments in the chat. Okay, so what'd you all learn tonight?
I think for Aaliyah, it was like more of a confirmation that these probably are a trustworthy group of people. And then that mostly like didn't really learn anything else yet, but got confused about a few new things, like how relationships work and you know, people's motivations. Yeah, but that's all.
Cool. What else did you learn this evening?
Those are
Loom
all
bots.
fish.
Ooh.
Everybody at the same time. You may go. You go.
This was already a suspicion, but it seems that the machinery, the looms that were already in the factory, in the warehouse, in the town for however long, for years, were actually loom beasts. That, like, I don't know if I misunderstood or, but
No.
that's what I'm taking out of.
Yeah.
Like, they were those creatures all along, just in a dormant form.
Exactly. Yes.
So, like, that alone is a learn, I guess.
Yep.
And, like, they can expand and get very, very big. And they seem to be healthy now.
Got it. Other things you learned this evening. I think Winnie and Battle both had one.
I was gonna say that Winnie, well, I don't know if Winnie learned it. I learned
Oh, yeah?
that Winnie has a soft spot for kids. Not like she's, immediately going to jump in, but if they ask her for things, she's going to Mandalorian style give in, and be super not cuddly, but
I really like that imagery of like I'm imagining when Grogu was like, I want to chew on this thing, and he was like, fine, take it.
Yes. And so, yeah, I think that was something I learned about Winnie. I don't know if that relates exactly to the question you're asking, but
yeah, it does. Yeah, anything you learned this evening. Okay. Battle, what did you get? Ugh, I can't talk.
It's okay. Doing great. Loom beasts are great at remodeling and organizing. Also, Bucket laid an egg, and we are now adopting it into our merry crew. And the mayor is they're all seeming pretty happily set up with the robots in a symbiotic relationship, so it feels like, unless there's another pressing issue in this town, we're probably going to move on soon. But it seems like they want to make sure that they're set up tomorrow morning before we really do any moving, but I think we're all relieved to have a little break.
Great. Did you learn anything else? It's not a quiz. I just want to make sure you have the space to say the things you want to say.
We learned the phrase "row baby."
You did learn.
You may.
Yep. Okay. We broke you, May. Anything else you learned?
We have a future of learning about construct reproduction.
Potentially, yeah.
Well, I don't think we have a choice that we're going to learn more.
Yep.
What
you are
if
gonna
it's a
learn more.
bull bot? What if it's a baby bull bot?
It seems a little big for that, but maybe.
I mean, it could be a baby thimble. But it's huge.
Oh no.
I don't
There's a
know,
lot
these-
of options here.
Those things fix the loom beast. It could be a baby loom beast. For making baby clothes.
I know that Spoon's already got something in mind because there was a reason for the color of the egg, so I just can't wait.
Remember, I drew a fucking card, so
Oh, this wasn't all
this
planned.
was
This
not
something
planned. This was a card.
But you had a reason for the color.
I mean, I can make shit up real fast, but I kept it. I
Okay.
kept it as loose as I could.
That does
Doing
help
great.
me wrap my head around this a little bit, that was the chaos magic and not
Super
actually
duper.
part of the intended plot.
No.
Like, we're still going to assimilate it because that's how our stories have worked at this point.
Well, and I know enough about like what's going on with Bucket and Bucket's brethren that like I could weave it in. Like there's a framework there, and like there's stuff happening outside of your instances. Yeah. So
Incredible.
okay. I really appreciated y'all reaching all the way back 6 months ago and connecting to your characters in the moment to wrap up this adventure. It would have been really easy to be like, okay, that's resolved and now a new thing. But I liked that we were able to kind of tie this up. So thank you for doing that because it's not the easiest thing to do. And you all did a really good job. I really appreciate that. Ready to move on to... I'm just going to call them character mode. Oh, I called them roleplay points. Remember, I'm going to type them. What's today, the 15th? Okay. Lay it on me. Good role-playing moments.
Winnie and the children all the way.
Yep, that was good. What else?
I really like that it wasn't dialogue necessarily. It was a decision made in roleplay, but how we learned that Aaliyah is very confused by all the options she's being offered. Like that's just something that the players, we all know, but the characters don't.
Yeah, the way you played that, Aaliyah, was you made that very clear. It was really good choices there, I think. Is that Yume kind of the flavor? Or did I miss the point? Did I miss the point? Or
I love that as a player, seeing
yeah.
that roleplay decision, even if the characters can't pick up on what's going on so much.
I also really liked Aaliyah's choice of activity during the shawarma meal, if you will, of like, we're all done, we're sitting down to eat and finally relax, and she's just smashing 3 bowls of ice cream.
I also really liked Yume, just like assuming the the bulb bots and the loom beasts were friendly, even though they were kind of tearing apart the warehouse, and just go like, let's just go talk to them and find out what's going on. Versus me, I'm like, oh, they're all going back home and they're tearing down the warehouse in revenge. And Yume was just like, let's go talk to them.
Yep, different instincts there, yeah. I can spell. Cool. Other good moments? Okay, you ready to vote?
Well, just battle lift. And I thought the description of like bomb careful lifting the egg out was pretty clear. I like that.
Yeah, the tender care that Battle was giving to Bucket and Egg.
Yeah.
Okay. Other good moments? Are you ready to vote? You made they've messed with their accessibility settings, and I don't know how accessible this is to you anymore. So if you just want to be like, I want this one, and I'll just put an emote on there for you if you need.
We'll make it work.
Okay. I haven't looked into it. I saw a couple of notices, and I was like, that probably is terrible. Okay, we got 3 votes. Need one more.
Tough choices.
There we go. Okay, so we've got Alea's choice of activity during the shawarma meal, smashing 3 bowls of ice cream, is the winner. So you are going to have a role-playing point for next time. And I'm going to try to remind you at the beginning of the session that you have a role-playing point. And if it's okay, because y'all don't use those very often, would it be okay if I recommend, like, this might be a good moment for that? Or will that kind of give things away too much?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'll remember, but feel free.
I have a terrible memory, so any reminders are always helpful, because I can still choose not to use it.
True. And did we decide last time that you could give your role-playing point to someone else? Or was that a different group? Was that this group?
I pestered you about it for weeks. You finally said, okay, fine, we can do that.
Woohoo! Did you really pester me, or did I, I don't
No, I was
know,
very
that's a
kind
change. I think it's a good one. I like it. Okay, so that's where we're gonna wrap it up. I'll tweet about where you'll see us again. Does anybody have something coming up that they want to talk about that people can see online? Head shakes, head shakes, head shakes, head shakes. Cool. Well, I have Monday off, so I'm planning on streaming that day. So come hang out. Again, I'm like 7 Spoon. I will talk about D&D all day long if you want, or tabletop role-playing games of any kind. And I guess everyone who's watching should practice telling a tiny story to their best friend, like the length of an elevator ride. There you go. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and I'm going to find the stop streaming button. I have found it, and we're all going to say bye, stream. Bye, stream.
Bye, stream.